everyone, and welcome to
Chew on Something, where we chew on something for the taste buds
and the mind.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes.
On our sixth episode.
Yes, the sixth episode.
I know we act like it's 100th
I
episode,
know.
but every day is a celebration.
I was just about to say
you
the
wake
same
up
thing.
to another glorious day, see the sun or the clouds, doesn't matter. But, you celebrate life.
Yeah, so welcome to episode 6. And we're going to do confetti.
Fireworks, confetti. Fireworks, confetti. So, this episode, we're going to dive on back in to our talk segment and talk about the opposition of forgiving, which is not forgiving, refusing forgiveness, refusing to forgive, and a little bit on healing, but I think the next episode will be more so about our healing journeys.
Yes, because this episode is actually part 2 of episode 6, because we did a little bit of discussion about healing last week. We're just more so discussing what this episode was going to be about.
Right.
So we're going to talk more about not forgiving, and then the following part 3 of episode 6 is going to be all about healing.
Right. So the 3-parter.
Yes.
You get a trilogy.
Yes. It's Lord of the Rings, but it's all about healing and releasing the anger and the shame.
I love a good trilogy. They're not all good, but this one will be.
What was it when he was like, they were running over the bridge? He was like, "Fly, fools, fly." Is that what he said? Or "Run, fools"? Remember they were going to the
Gandalf?
bridge? Yes. Did he say "fly, fools" or "run, fools"?
I think it might have been Run.
Run, fool. Run, fool?
Yeah. Okay. So ever since we publicly revealed for the first time that we are child sexual abuse survivors, just want to say thank you again so much for everyone's compassion and love over the past few weeks. The video that I posted on Instagram received over 1 million views, and for me that just solidified how many people can resonate with our story and how millions go through this. But still, it's a very lonely, it can feel like a very lonely place to be when you encounter this sort of abuse. Even when I have my best friend, my heart, was still feeling, I still felt lonely in the abuse at times.
I think that's why it's so important to share stories. And, we also wanted to thank all of you for finding this space safe enough to share your own stories. And some of the stories that you shared, wow.
Were really heartfelt and touching and heartbreaking.
But also shows the resilience and strength of a lot of people, because I sometimes think that survivors don't recognize the strength within themselves.
Even when you don't feel strong, you possess strength. You are being strong because you survived. And I think I just want to put an emphasis that one publicly has to reveal their abuse.
Right.
It is essential that you do talk to someone, and it is essential that you talk to someone that can help you process these emotions, because it's not a one-time conversation to be had. You have to make sure that the person you're telling on a regular basis is equipped to help you along your way.
And I think another reason why it's so important to share stories is because no one's meant to move through this world alone. And hearing someone else's story can inspire you, because it can show you a different perspective, and you can think, wow, what they went through and then survive that can also show the strength within yourself, and seeing that I can also survive it too. Not only survive, but you can thrive.
Thrive. Survive and thrive.
Survive and thrive.
That should be survivor's motto. I survive and I thrive.
Yeah. Thriving and surviving.
Yes. And shows you what you're capable of as well. I also found strength within listening to stories from others, especially at a time when I necessarily wasn't feeling that strong. And when we talk about our journey of healing, and we are big on forgiveness, just because we know how it transformed our own lives and transformed our journey of healing, we did encounter a few that were not down with what we had to say about forgiveness, y'all. They were not down with that.
Well, I'll be damned.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
It's very interesting that it can evoke so many emotions when you talk about forgiving, especially when the abuse has been very severe. It's very interesting that some people feel that forgiving is allowing that those abuses in some way you're indicating that it's okay.
Right.
And that's exact opposite of what we stated, because we stated it multiple times.
Yeah, we're not absolving them of the heinous acts.
No. And it's not easy.
No. Forgiveness doesn't come easy.
No.
That's why when we have these talks, you and I specifically, I always say that anger and hate came very easily to me. Came very easy. Forgiveness was very difficult. And the reason why forgiveness is so much more difficult is because it's so much more rewarding. Hate and anger came easily. I didn't have to work at being angry and hateful towards our father. And it rewarded me nothing but depression, stress, more hate and anger. But when I forgave, it rewarded me everything. And it wasn't easy, but I had to work at it. And a lot of times in life, this is applicable to many things. You have to work hard at what you want. And that's when you reap the rewards, when you put the work in. So we had to put the work in order to forgive our father, but it was so much more rewarding.
Right, because the act of unforgiving, as TK said, yes, it came very natural. And this is us talking from personal experience. We held on to that anger for years. So let's not get it misconstrued. This wasn't, we went through the abuse and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, we forgive.
Hey.
Oh, we're...
Nope.
Oh, no. For years and years and years holding on to that anger and that hate. And it was very easy for me to hold on to it. But what was not easy was forgiving. So that was uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. So I find the things that are most uncomfortable many times in life, on the other side of that, reaps the most rewards.
Yeah, and very true. And, thinking along those lines when you said about the hate, there was a time I never thought I would forgive our father. Never. Forever, ever, forever, ever, forever. Like the mighty outcast did.
Yes.
Forever. I never thought that I would forgive our father. And I also didn't think that I would talk about the child sexual abuse until he passed. Honestly, I didn't want to. Before, I didn't want to talk about it while he was still alive. And I mean, could break down the reasons for that, why later, if I remember. But there was a time in my life where I never thought I would forgive her father. And during that time when I felt that way, I had a lot of anger and hate attached to me. And I just didn't like the way I felt. Because having hate and anger towards anyone, regardless if they deserve it, right? You think, does this person deserve forgiveness? That's not the question you should ask yourself. The question is, do you deserve to forgive? Do you deserve to let go of that hate and anger? Do you deserve to no longer hold on to that pain that you have towards these heinous acts towards that person? Do you deserve to no longer possess that within your body, because it can cause real effects for your body physically and mentally? Why do you think when you go to the doctor and they see something wrong, they go, are you stressed? Because stress has real physical manifestations for the body. And so when people go, oh, I'll never forgive him, I'll always be hateful and angry, I was like, okay, you have to go through those motions to get to forgiveness, but you're hurting yourself. You're not hurting them. It's not a detriment to them. It's a detriment to yourself.
And let us ask you this, because when we're sharing our story, it's not like, you have to forgive.
Right. Exactly.
It's coming from personal experiences. So we're just sharing what we have done within our own lives.
Right.
But I want to ask you this, for people that are still holding on to that act of not forgiving, can I ask you this? Are you happy? Do you have any autoimmune diseases? Are you constantly stressed, anxiety? And these were all the things that I was dealing with when I was holding on to that anger and not forgiving this perpetrator. I was extremely stressed, constantly dealing with issues of anxiety. I was over 50 pounds overweight because emotional eater, so I mostly dealt with processed food, processed sugars. And then that caused all forms of types of cavities in my mouth. I had to get 3 teeth pulled, all types of dental work done. I was pre-diabetic, so I was also going numb in one of my feet, and then also losing sight. So I had temporary bouts of blindness every single day. I didn't know when it would happen, but all of a sudden I would lose eyesight completely out of one of my eyes. This was all due to, and then also on top of that, I was within a domestically abusive relationship for 5 years. So this was a accumulation of all the things that were manifesting because I was still holding on to so much anger and hate and unforgiveness, and it was manifesting in every facet of my life. But I wasn't conscious that I was holding on to, but it was showing up everywhere. Knock, knock, knock. There it was.
Don't answer it. Don't answer that door, y'all. I see you. Wow. Yeah. Wow. I mean, I'm still dealing with emotional eating, but
right. I mean, so
but I wasn't so much sugar.
Right. You weren't so much sugar.
I was just eating late at night, like things I shouldn't be eating late at night. And I shouldn't have been eating late at night in general.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah. Wow. Yeah. Wow. There's a lot to unpack right there.
I know. But you know what? TK's like, oh,
I think I need a cocktail.
But right now we have water. I want people to seriously, think about this at home. Do you feel at peace? Look at your environment, the people that are surrounding you. Because TK made an excellent point. Like, look at your friends and the people that you surround yourself with. It's a key sign of where you are in your place of healing a lot of times.
Yeah. And they can have a big effect on your journey of healing, the people that you surround yourself with, which is why you always hear it's so important who you surround yourself with, who is in your circle. I know that personally, growing up and having these deep issues with anger and hate towards our father, I know that we broached it in the first episode, and I said that I never took it out on anyone, but I didn't like the way I was reacting to certain situations. If someone was rude to me or inconsiderate, we get a lot of rude comments about our hair. I would just sort of fly off the handle to put people in their place. Well, I was tired of that. People sometimes will be like, oh, well, you need to stand up for yourself. There's a difference between standing up for yourself. I like to call it classic clap back. And
TK loves a classic clap back.
I love a classic clap back. I'm not above a classic clap back. Or,
I love a classy bye.
It's a classic clap back. Or flying off the handle if I felt someone was stepping to me wrong as being completely rude. I'm just tired of it. People will say, well, when someone says something to you like that, when they're being rude, you have every right to say something back. I agree. However, when we were receiving this amount of vitriol, anytime we left our house, multiple times a day, I'm just tired of dealing with it. I was tired of flying off the handle every single time someone said something asinine or rude. I was tired of being angry. I was tired of reacting in that way because I learned eventually you can never control what people say to you, but you can always control how you react to it. And I wanted to get to this level of reacting to it where I just let it, brush off my shoulders.
Right.
Because I knew those type of people didn't matter to me. Their opinions didn't matter to me. So why was I exerting all this energy towards them? And I knew that came back to because I had all this hate and anger bottled up and I was just looking for some way to exert it. I was looking for some way to expend it towards anything but myself because I didn't want to have this within me. Then I reached a point where I said, well, what can I do for myself to release this anger and hate? because it's the greatest disservice to me. So I get when people say, I'll never forgive. I feel so angry. I'll never let go of that. I get it. I understand it because we felt like that for years. When people say, I will never forgive, and those questions you asked were great. And one question as well is, do you still have anger? Do you still have anger? And most people that haven't forgiven still possess a great deal of anger. And there's nothing wrong with being angry about what happened to you.
It's healthy to be angry. You want
not sitting here telling you like, oh, just be happy and full of joy.
Right?
You're every right to be angry, but it has to be phases.
Right.
It has to be in a phase in your life where you can grow from the anger into something greater.
Because as TK said, that's an excellent point. It is very healthy. It's true. It's very healthy to feel the anger, to process that anger, because that anger is actually a coping mechanism that helped you survive that abuse.
Right.
That is natural to feel angry. But what happens is, as you get older and you move through the abuse, and eventually when the abuse stops, then that coping mechanism becomes something that's detrimental to your entire life because you no longer need it. It no longer serves you anymore in the way that it did when you were a child.
That's a word y'all hear. That no longer serves you. Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
And as TK was talking about this constant feeling of being angry and just any little thing will set you off. Also, too, I want to share what happened when I released all that anger.
Right.
So I just shared about what happened and what was going on in my life when I was holding on to it. Then when I started working on releasing it, all these things happened within my life that I felt that by releasing that anger, it was opening up other gateways that were blocked before because I was still holding on to all this anger. So then what happened is I started losing weight because, you know, when we talk about emotional eating, it's never just about the food. It's always a distraction. The food you're using as a distraction for yourself not to feel certain kinds of emotions. So I was going through this healing process and then I wound up losing the weight. I cured my pre-diabetic state. I wind up being in a very loving and respectful relationship. My sister loves him. He's my brother. Yep. He's a brother. That's what I'm saying. And that happened, and it wasn't like I was looking for that's what they said, like it truly happens when you're not looking for it, because I was focused on myself. And to be honest, I shouldn't have been in any kind of relationship because I just wasn't in a mental state, because I hadn't processed all these feelings that we dealt with from the abuse. Right. So I was still healing. But you know, I tell you, it changes. It changed my life.
It's transformative.
It changed my life by releasing that anger. And you know, and also too, when I think about it, it's not, you know, when we talk about the state of forgiving, if I was sitting across my father today, it wouldn't be, oh, yeah, I forgive you, la la la. It would be, look, I forgive you. It doesn't excuse anything that you did. And these are the repercussions of your actions, that you will never have your daughters in your life again. I want to be the one to tell you that I forgive you. Because in all these things contributed to the women that we are today. And Lord have mercy knows, I would not want to go through that again. But it did teach us valuable lessons that helped us move through this world, especially as Black women, I have to say. Some of the lessons our father taught us that, you know, I would not have learned if he was not in our lives.
Yeah, they're invaluable. And I can take components from our childhood and the lessons that we learned and say that they're invaluable. Yes. And we did learn them from our father. At the same time, too, I think that when we said that a few people had a difficult time processing this idea of forgiving someone for doing these heinous acts, I just have to add on to that and say that forgiving him had absolutely nothing to do with him. Nothing.
Exactly.
Nada. Nothing. Nothing to do with him. Nothing. And once you change the way you think about forgiveness, I think that will give you a better...
Push that ego aside, y'all. Push that ego aside.
It'll give you a better interpretation of what it means to forgive. I think people think forgiving is absolving someone of the heinous acts and they don't deserve to be forgiven. Mm-hmm. But I'll say that again, you deserve to let go of that anger and hate. I also wanted to jump in a little bit about the Red Table Talk with Jeanette McCurdy.
Yes.
So perhaps that might be a good thing to jump into after the break.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's get into it.
Okay,
let's get into it.
We're going to be eating something healthy.
Yes, so...
What are you eating, Health Master?
TK is usually the one that comes out with these great creative names for the food segment.
No pork for the fork. You know you liked it.
So this time we're going to be making a pizza. And
what'd you name it?
I didn't name it anything because I'm waiting for...
Okay.
I asked TK for the advice for naming the food.
Veggie for that belly.
Well, it might be something else. Okay. But that was cute. And this is a pizza. It's very simple that you can make at home. It's made with a cauliflower crust. And it's not something that personally I would recommend eating every single day. A lot of times when people hear a lot of vegan ingredients or vegetarian ingredients, I'm using another kind of vegan sausage that I think you'll really love, but all the kind of fillers in it. So this is
not Beyond Meat. Did you hear about that? Was it the CEO, executive of Beyond Meat, who bit a guy's nose? Did you hear about that?
There was so much to unpack in that story, y'all. He was vegan, right? And he bit someone's nose.
And apparently they were saying he wasn't vegan. I don't know. But
he wasn't vegan, or he was
saying he wasn't.
He wasn't.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was about to say, if he was vegan, that is a whole story in itself.
No, he could have been vegan. I didn't delve that deep in
it. Somebody missing that meat. He want to get it however he can get it. Ooh. Yeah. No. So a Holyfield incident on the nose.
So it's not Beyond Meat, y'all.
No, but it's a quick, simple pizza that you can make at home. And it's very yummy and delicious. And I like to call it a healthy side of a treat. Say, I want to treat myself. Okay. You know.
That's not what I think of when I think of a treat. Version. But I'm trying to, change the way I think about treats.
Exactly. I'm trying to change the way I think about treats too. Because why would you want to treat your body with something in the end is going to treat it in this detrimental way?
Yeah.
You got to change your perspective.
Way.
Yes. Yeah. I should treat myself with things that are good for me because I deserve to be healthy and strong.
Yeah, that's a treat to your body.
Yeah. I'm going to treat myself to kill myself. Come on now.
Damn, y'all. She a party pooper? Like, jeez.
I mean,
put that cupcake down, y'all.
You know what I mean, in moderation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we're going to head on into the break now.
All right, I'm going to think of a fun name.
Yes. No pork for the fork.
This looks divine, y'all. Already prepared, too. It's going to be a real short food break. Even better, so we can get down to eating it.
So because I had to prep it before and cook it, it's just easier for filming-wise to, speed up the process. So it's already made. So the cauliflower, we named it
Cauli Love.
California Love.
No. California Love.
Oh.
Cauliflower love.
Okay.
So,
if anyone steals that, we get our you give us credit. That's so good. Cauliflower love. You heard it here first.
Oh, that's right. Mm-hmm. Dibs on the copyright.
Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. Give us black creators our credit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Cauliflower love.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay. Not so sure this is what Tupac and Dr. Dre
would like
have in mind.
We think it's genius. Cauliflower's never sounded so good.
And I used a cauliflower crust.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing though with the cauliflower crust that I use, so you can make your own or you can buy a pre-made one. And I brought a pre-made one just to save on time.
Okay.
And it's by Outer Owl. So it's a cauliflower pizza crust, or you can use it as a wrap. And it comes with 2 pieces. And it's not like the traditional, so it's on the thinner side, as you can see. So it's more like a wrap.
Stophaneous.
What did you say?
It's stophaneous. Well, it's not see-through, but
No.
it's thin.
Yeah, it's pretty thin. It does have a little like heft to it though.
Okay.
So it makes it good for a pizza. But the only thing is that when the pizza was done, you definitely have to let it cool down, because I tried to take it off from the tray, and because you're putting on like the tomato sauce and like the other cheeses, because it's saturated with those sauces, it makes it limp, basically. Like the crust isn't.
Nobody wants to hear limp. Limp don't sound good.
No, it becomes a little bit. So definitely let it cool so it's easier to take off, so the crust hardens a bit.
Okay.
Because when things get hot and they're still very like soft. So
Yeah, we'll keep it PG.
a learning lesson. Yeah. Nobody want to.
It tastes good going
Exactly.
down.
Nobody want a limp crust. You know what I'm saying?
Nobody want to lip nothing. Nobody want to lip anything.
So we take the cauliflower crust, and then I put on top of the cauliflower crust, it's really delicious. It's like a garlic paste. So I'll put that on the crust. Because sometimes when people make butters, they'll put like a little bit of oil, or sometimes people use butter to butter the dough itself. But I'll put this garlic paste.
I like to be buttered up. And I like my dough buttered.
Yes.
That sounds great.
But I'll put the garlic paste on top of the crust.
Okay.
And then I'll take some goat cheese.
I love goat cheese. Love.
Goat cheese is really good. It's like out of all the cheeses, the healthiest kind of cheese that you can eat. So goat cheese it's just delicious in general. We love goat cheese.
Yes.
So I know some people have a particular taste when it comes to cheeses, and some people aren't a fan of goat cheese.
I have a funny story with goat cheese. I was in not goat cheese, goats. Well, sheep. Same, similar family. I was in this hotel room and I heard bah, bah, and I was like, who's making these bad sheep imitations right outside my hotel room? And I opened the window up and it was a flock of sheep. I was like, my bad. Go back, bah. I'm in their territory.
My bad.
Yeah. Good one. It's good one. My bad.
So
That's good one.
oh, thanks. This is us 24/7. So
Yeah.
get used to it.
Where's our nerd alert? Do we have a nerd alert coming?
I don't know. Do we?
Don't you have some sort of nutritional fact? You always do.
Well,
Up your sleeve. Where's the nutritional facts?
Well, there is a nutritional fact regarding tomatoes. So, like when you
Nerd alert! Nerd alert! Nerd alert!
we'll actually put it at the bottom of the video, like
Sure.
a pop up. But when you saute tomatoes or cook them a bit, it releases a type of chemical within the tomato that releases things that are really good for you, like antioxidants, more so than if you just ate it in its natural state.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like ups the ante.
Which is sort of the opposite of a lot of different.
Yes.
Food.
Some foods, exactly. Some foods actually, it brings out more of the elements within that food that you naturally would not benefit from if you didn't grill it or saute it.
Yeah.
Like the heat in some turn. Yeah.
It activates something.
Yeah, exactly. It activates
It's like
it.
a superpower. Activates superpower.
Yes, exactly. I'll put the exact terminology in the
Okay.
video because it's been a while. But yes, so if you saute
So
tomatoes,
before
it
it's like Clark Kent, but when you activate it,
it's Superman. Exactly.
Or Supergirl, Superwoman.
Yes, good one. That's exactly. So right now, Superman, Superwoman status.
Okay. I like that step.
Yeah. Before Clark Kent, which is still good.
Supergirl.
Right, yeah. So when I put so some people, as I said before, don't like goat cheese. So if you don't like goat cheese, you can just leave it off and just use the garlic paste. But so I'll put the garlic paste on, then the goat cheese, and then I'll put the tomatoes on. That's like sauteed tomatoes that I'll put on top of it, and it makes like a sauce. And then on top of that, then that's when I will put my plant-based, I don't have it here because I used it all, but a plant-based Parmesan. So I'll spread that on the pizza, and then I'll use the fresh mozzarella. So you'll see it in the video, but I use the fresh mozzarella so it comes in like the big like ball format, and I'll slice that up and put it on top of the pizza. And the mozzarella that I use is not vegan, but there are forms of vegan mozzarella.
More cheese sounds good.
Yeah.
Reminds me of that SNL skit with more cowbells.
More
cheese.
So then after that, then what I will do is I will put a little bit of basil on it, like fresh basil. This sausage this time is a garlic fennel sausage.
Okay.
But it's a vegan sausage. And then I'll put that all on the cauliflower crust. And then after I'm done with that, then I drizzle a little bit of honey on top of the pizza.
Oh, wow.
And then I'll put it in, and then I'll put it into the oven for about, I would say give it a good like 25 minutes, I would say. Okay. Or if you like it a bit crispier, 25, 30, 35 minutes. Okay. But then it comes out really delicious, I think. But also one note I forgot to mention, for the sausage, I will actually grill the sausage before I put it on the pizza. So I grill it in a pan and then pop it on top of the pizza and then put it in the oven. So you don't want it too brown when you put it in the pan because it's going to cook more in the oven. Okay. Just a little note. And then it turns out like...
Let me just tell you, this has been pure torture, this segment. Let's never do this again where the food's already prepared and you're talking throughout the whole thing, because the entire segment, I've been paying attention. I've also been staring at this pizza because my stomach's are grumbling. I'm so hungry. This has just been pure torture. So I can try it now?
Yes, you can try it now. That was all TK. The whole time we were talking to the food segment, in her head, she just heard blah, 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 blah,
like
blah, blah, blah,
wah, 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 wah,
wah. And like I said, we're eating it with a knife and fork because the cauliflower crust is not like the most...
It's limp.
Yes. Someone in one of our beautiful virtual family members said that we should call this the break because
Wow.
Thanks, sis.
Wow. That's delicious.
Thank you.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very simple to make. But like I said, this is more a healthy-ish treat. I want to eat this every day. But something maybe I'll have like on a Saturday or something.
Eating a whole pizza never felt so good, y'all.
There's other ways that you can make it healthier. And I'll show some of those other versions later. But yeah. Well, okay. Well, I think we should just get back on.
And get back to our talk
Get back on to the episode.
For our Listen to the next segment.
Thank you. I'm so glad you liked it.
You did that.
Thank you. I did that. And you could do that too.
Okay.
You could change your life today. Okay.
For those who are South Park fans,
yes.
Don't get that right.
As you can see, food makes us very happy.
It sure does. Wow. I don't want to go into the second part. I just want to sit down and eat this. You did that.
Oh.
You did that, sis. All right.
Okay. See you soon.
Woo! See why? That pizza was divine.
Thank
It
you,
was so
sis.
good.
Thank
Made me
you.
transformative. You know, you think about all the pizza that you love, and and I love a pizza. That's why I gained all this weight. Sitting there eating a whole damn pizza. So if I eat one of those whole ones, I wouldn't feel so guilty. But you know, I want to eat a whole one because I'm trying to change.
Well, you can eat a whole one
Oh,
because
good. Good
they're like
news.
individual size
Oh,
ones.
okay.
So, you know.
Oh
so-
yeah, okay.
And we came up with a real cute name for it called
Cali Love.
California Love. Was it like?
California love.
Come on, TK, wrap us out. You know it ain't gonna be me. TK's with all the lyrical skills over here. TK also needs to spit something for y'all one time on our show.
Yeah, I'll do it one of these episodes.
Okay. But it's a real
Yeah, it
cute
was
name
delicious. It
called
was
Cali Love.
Like cauliflower.
Cauliflower, Cali Love. Yeah.
California love.
This is how we survived.
We sure did. We sure did, y'all. Even through the most traumatic times,
Yes.
we always found joy.
I always remember laughing in
Yeah.
our childhood, like always.
When people say, "Oh, I'm sorry about your childhood," and they had to go through that, and I say that I know that I came out on the other side of this trauma and I pushed through it with happiness and joy because I always had that with you. I always had it with our mom, and I'm incredibly lucky. That's why I never ever feel like I'm a victim. Always felt like a survivor.
Yes.
And for me, I know
Well,
how
we
blessed.
appreciate the well wishes, but
Yes,
you know, sometimes when people say I'm so sorry, but I'm like, you know,
right.
please don't feel
We
sorry.
appreciate the
We
compassion.
appreciate the compassion, but
But just know that we always had joy.
Mm-hmm.
We always had happiness because we had each other and we had our mom. And that's a heck of a lot than a lot of children have when they go through this abuse.
Yes.
Completely alone.
mm-hmm.
So I know that we were incredibly blessed and are incredibly blessed to have that in our lives
You
always.
said you wanted to discuss.
I did. Going on a different tangent. Yeah, I'm trying to claim my love for you, sister.
I love you, TK.
I love you, Sabrina.
You know, it's without saying because
Don't hesitate to tell the person that you love. You know, life is
That's
short.
true.
You don't know if tomorrow's gonna come. All kinds of crazy things happen. Text the person. Give them a call. I'm old school. I give people calls.
We say it every day,
Yes.
multiple times a day. It's very natural.
Yeah.
I say it to all my loved ones. In
Yeah.
fact.
Reach out to them. Tell them you love them. Just because. You don't need a reason.
Yeah.
Love is the reason.
Yes.
Because you love them. Just reach out and text them.
I just call to say I love you.
Yeah. Throw in that Stevie and text. Yeah, I guess I wanted to dive into a little bit of the Red Table Talk with Jeanette McCurdy and the abuse that she experienced with her mom. And there was a section on there in the segment where they were discussing not forgiving. And she was looking for some way to still honor her mom. And I believe that she was trying to do that through forgiveness. And her therapist had told her, well, what if I told you that you don't have to work towards forgiveness now? Which I think is an interesting subject to also broach, because we were just talking about how you have to go through all those emotions. You have to go through the anger that you feel. We're not telling you not to feel angry. And we're also not telling you to go through moments or a phase where you don't feel like forgiving. I feel like you have to be ready to forgive.
Yes.
Emotionally,
Yes.
mentally, you have to be ready, because if you forgive when you're not ready emotionally and mentally, that anger is just going to come back, and then you're just going to expend it towards yourself because you're angry that you forgave and you weren't ready to, and it brings out all these other different type of emotions. So the idea of not forgiving someone it's completely understandable because you may not be ready for that in your phase of life, but you have to go through those. We went through that for a very long time, not wanting to forgive. I didn't forgive my father for a very long time. But I can also tell you what came along with that and what was attached with that was a lot of anger.
Right. That's why when we talk about our stories, we are just sharing our own personal experiences. Just through our own experiences, how anger has manifested in our life when we held on to it by not forgiving. And a lot of times, not forgiving is not attached to peace. It's not attached to this state of peace. But it's important to process those emotions because that was something that we had to process for years till we got to a point where we realized, look, something's not working.
People hold on to that anger and really feel passionate about not forgiving someone, which, like we said, is okay to go through those emotions. I think sometimes they go through life thinking that I would be this person without this trauma in my life. I could have achieved so much happiness and joy, or I could accomplish this or that if it wasn't for this trauma. This trauma is what is holding me back from doing this or that. And I just want to say that that's not true. It's understandable why you feel that way. It's understandable, but always know that your trauma doesn't have to define you in such a way where it thwarts you or becomes a hindrance to your goals. Where it thwarts you or becomes a hindrance in what you want to achieve in life. I think a lot of people hold on to that trauma and think, oh, because I've had so much trauma and pain, that means that I can't achieve this level of happiness or joy or do what I want or achieve the goals that I want. And that's completely not true. You have to change the way that you think about your trauma and think, this is what happened to me, but it doesn't mean that it defines me as a person. Where I become my own roadblocks into my life goals.
And this is why that is such an excellent point. And it really speaks onto why we need to share our stories. And again, you don't have to share it publicly, but as we talked about and TK has expressed about sharing stories with someone that's trusted, someone that's capable to listen to these kinds of stories, whether it's seeing a therapist and a therapist that is good for you, the right kind of therapist, do your research, get recommendations, support groups, because what happens is the more that we release and the more that we share, the more that we understand that this is something that is it's something that is not out of the norm, surviving from child sexual abuse. It's something that happens and it's very common. But what's not common is people don't talk about it. So when you feel that you are alone in something and you're at a place today where you're still overcoming, you're still healing, we're still healing, it inspires you to know that you can push through it.
Right.
You know, that you can push through it and that you can heal. Because what happens is when you aren't aware of other people that have gone through similar situations that you have gone through, you can be sitting here today with a host of addictions and autoimmune diseases, is what I had, a huge addiction to processed foods and sugars, autoimmune disease as pre-diabetic, and all these things that I was sharing with you, and all these things that I used to hold a lot of shame for. But the more that I heal, the more that I realize that I survived all that. And these are just stepping stones to me becoming stronger and releasing all these things that are going to help me heal in a more sustainable way and bring more happiness and health into my life. Right. So why am I ashamed of surviving?
And that, you know, that's a really great point, sis.
Thank you.
And falling back onto what you were saying about therapy, I think is also important because we talk about this amongst ourselves, that the people that should benefit from it the most, marginalized communities of color, that don't have the facilities, that don't have the money, that don't have the time. You know, some people are working 2-3 jobs just to put food on the table, and they have all this trauma that they haven't dealt with. And I think that this is a conversation that needs to be ongoing. It's how can we help these communities of color? How can we afford them the time to seek the help that is necessary, right? Because a lot of times when you go into these spaces of healing, it's not cheap. It's
No.
expensive.
And this is a conversation that I had with TK because I've partaken in a lot of these healing practices that, fortunately I was able to afford. But I do remember sitting in some of those circles thinking, wow, this could really benefit certain kinds of communities. But because of the price and the availability and just the time, the setting, it's
not feasible.
No, it's not feasible. And that's why, as you said, this was a conversation. I've actually talked a lot about this with TK, that about changing that dynamic, because this wellness group and a lot of healing practices that have come from indigenous communities, it needs to be shared in a more global, more diverse global.
Yes, it's very exclusive.
Yes,
it needs to be
it
inclusive.
Is. And and just talking about this, it just it's very emotional because a lot of times after the circle, I'll automatically think, wow, this really could benefit so many different kinds of communities. And
the communities that really need it aren't receiving the type of healing that's necessary for them to move forward.
Right. Everyone needs it. So when we talk about communities,
accessibility is what
accessibility,
we're really talking about.
All communities need healing because abuse and trauma, no one's immune to it. Yes. So we all
no
need
matter
it.
the color,
no matter the color, we all
but
need
the accessibility to some of these great facilities,
it's very limited to certain communities.
It's very inclusive. So I thought I just throw that out there because I know that some people are interested. Also, too, I know that there's free support groups that people can go to, but at the same time, too, people will say, well, I have this job, so I don't have time. You have some time in your day, even if it's 5 minutes.
Right.
Even if it's 5 minutes.
And for me, like when we just go into our third part of this episode, I'll talk personally about a lot of the healing practices I have partaken over for the past 5 years. Of course, I'll keep the details of what certain details about those healing ceremonies private, because it's other people's stories and also the privacy of the ceremony itself. Yeah. But these ceremonies have been a huge integral part to my healing process and how I've changed my entire lifestyle. So I definitely want to share that. We're doing breath work and meditation at home. Right. These have been very beneficial.
Yeah, so that'll be a great one to delve into because myself, I'm just entering that space. I just dipped my big toe in. I haven't dunked my whole body in yet. It's just the big toe. But the big toe liked what it felt.
Yes. Cold water plunges.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I'll talk about all that. But, when I did the cold water plunge, a lot of that's mental. And, when I stepped into that water, I actually almost fell asleep because my body just went to relax.
It was probably you were back in the womb. The body was like, ooh, this feel like the womb.
It's like a William Hoff.
It was like
a Will Hoff ceremony, but I fell asleep because it was just so relaxing.
It's like, we back in the womb. Where your sister at?
It was cold, TK. Ooh, it was cold.
And that's why your sister wasn't nowhere to be seen.
Yeah, my partner and I went together. Ooh, it was cold. Okay. We did good, though. It was mental, y'all. I was like, this is nothing compared to what I went through in my childhood. What's next?
I guess this is a good stopping point.
Yeah.
Right? Because next week we're going to delve into...
yes, all about... Healing
journey.
Books to recommend for y'all.
I might be real quiet on this one because Sabrina knows a lot. And for me,
you have a lot to
healing
talk
has been very much self-sufficient, which is probably why I'm still dealing with some issues with emotional eating. Not so much so where I feel like I'm debilitated by my trauma. I think it's more so a subconscious thing.
She's doing good though with the...
But I've been stepping back in that space to get much healthier. But just want everyone to know that I'm full of joy and happiness.
when she says that was a
I am.
conversion. She surely is. So definitely don't have to
It's
worry about
good.
this one over here. That's for sure.
Feels good to be in that space, you
Yes.
know? Because a lot of people don't make it. And that's breaks my heart. Which is why we want to continue to have these conversations, because we hope that we can help some people feel less alone.
Mm-hmm.
And we send all our love to all the survivors. We know it's not easy, but you can absolutely get to this place of joy and happiness. It's there. It's just waiting for you whenever you're ready. It's always there.
If you want to share, you don't have to do it in a public setting.
Mm-hmm.
We're on all the social platforms. So if you want to send us a DM or something like
Yes.
that, feel free. And as always, thank you so much for joining us.
And see you next time on
Chew on something.
Hey, 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 hey.